Well, good morning. We're Larry and Mary Mason. Welcome on board our Nordhavn 57. No plans. And we've owned no plans for 5 years now.
So we were nearing retirement, and we had the defining moment of thinking about buying a boat for retirement. And we started to attend the boat shows, which is kind of nice because boat shows are in wonderful places to vacation, like Miami and Seattle and Dana Point and Newport Beach and San Diego. And so we were traveling to these places, and we were at the boat show in San Diego, and Nordhavn had a 57 on display there. And we visited, and we came back 2 or 3 times during the boat show. And so our salesman said, we're going to have to take this boat back to Dana Point after the show. Would you like to come along? And I'd never been on one before, neither had Mary. So we accepted that. So at 6:30 at dusk, at the close of the boat show, we pulled off the dock, and we came down the San Diego Channel and went up to Dana Point. And it was a nighttime sail. Jerry was watching the radar, and the wonderful experience was he saw on the radar, he said, we have porpoises coming to meet the boat. And he saw them on the radar, and sure enough, the porpoises came around, a large number of them, and followed us for a few miles, and that was a great experience. I had no idea you could pick them up on the radar like that. Anyway, we pulled into Dana Point times, and it was great fun to hop off the dock at about 2 o'clock in the morning with our bag and go over to the hotel and reminisce about our trip from San Diego to Dana Point. Thinking about wanting to have a boat, I began reading, and I just read anything and everything I could to study and learn, and the rules of the road and so forth and so on, and the mechanics of the boats. And eventually we settled on the Nordhavn 57. That was a wonderful experience buying the boat. Nordhavn did very well for us and walking us through that process. But because we lacked experience in the beginning, we hired captains to take us everywhere we went, and this was another way of learning, is just learn from the captains. But during that period of time, we took the boat from Dana Point up to the San Juan Islands and spent the summer driving through the San Juan Islands. What a wonderful place to gain experience, the nice calm waters up there. However, there are currents and there are tides. You had to learn how to do that. And got to experience lots of boat traffic and in and out of marinas and anchoring and so forth. That was a great summer for us. And then, of course, we didn't want to spend the winter up there at that time, so we went south. We took the boat down to Newport and had a little bit of maintenance done on the boat, and then on down into Mexico. We stopped at Cabo and eventually ended up spending, 3 months or so at Mazatlan. We made the decision to take the boat to Europe. And at the time we were there, there was the city was sponsoring some speakers to come in and a little training classes at one of the hotels. And one of the speakers was John and Pat Raines. And they were speaking of how to manipulate yourself to get down to Panama Canal. We said, we're going to go listen to that speech because we want to know all we can about it. And at the end of their talk, my Mary over here, she's so bold about these things, and I'm always shy, but she walked up and said to John and Pat, we're going to Panama Canal. Would you like to come with us? And they said, well, we'll talk to you tomorrow. They came and visited us on the boat. They saw the boat was I think they were inspecting the boat more than anything, and they saw what boat it was, and there was no question about it. And they said yes. So John and Pat Raines, him with his over 70 times through the Panama Canal as a boat skipper, was certainly an added asset to our training. And when it's 3 o'clock in the morning and John is driving the boat, I sleep very well when he's on his shift, naturally. And so we went down, and the purpose for going down was so that they could update certain parts of their next addition to their book. And so we stopped frequently, and we explored the harbors, and we met the marina managers and just had a wonderful time. And achieved that. At Panama, they left us, and we had some Irish friends came from Ireland, and they were at that time had a boat being built, and they were biding their time, and they went with us from Panama to Dominican Republic, where they left us, and then Mary and I took it down from there to Puerto Rico, the Virgin Islands, and so forth, down to Martinique. And we did that trip on our own with no one on board. And the reason for Martinique is because Dockwise was loading there to go to Europe. Now, we didn't feel like we had enough experience, and there were no other rally boats in terms of crossing, and so we decided to ship it. It was a good way for us to do that, considering our experience and having nobody else kind of buddy boat with us across. And we spent 4 years in Europe, and we sailed France, Italy, back and forth several times, all the way down through Messina 3 or 4 times, around the heel of Italy, did Croatia. We spent 2 winters in Croatia, all the way up to Italy. How wonderful it was to have no plans at St. Mark's Square in Venice, as an example, and having no plans at the harbor in Dubrovnik. We saw Montenegro. We traveled Greece through the Peloponnese. We circumnavigated that, several places in Greece. Sicily. We wintered 1 year in Malta. That was our last summer. Our first season we were there, we wintered in Rapallo, Italy, which is just east of Genoa, and it's the beginning of the Cinque Terre, where all the wonderful little hill towns, the Santa Margherita, and everyone knows the famous town of Portofino. We could just take our dinghy from Santa Margherita and dinghy Portofino, Santa Margherita, Portofino, back and forth. And then when we weren't at the marina there, we could anchor outside of Portofino, right among the big cruise boats and the big yachts. So we were just shouldered our way right in between them, and had a great time there. And then
We wintered in Malta.
we wintered in Malta, which was a wonderful experience. There's nothing like pulling into the harbor there, the largest harbor in Europe, Valletta, and the people there were just outstanding. So one of our favorite cruising grounds was Croatia, and Mary can tell a little bit about how we did in Croatia.
Yes, well, with 1,000 islands and short distances between them, and ideal anchorage, shallow waters, clean waters, 83 degrees, great for swimming, beautiful marinas. We spent 2 summers cruising Croatia. And as Larry said, from Dubrovnik to Venice is about 350 miles, and it was ideal in that we had people come and visit us. We had virtual non-stop company, because first of all people would say, "Where is Croatia?" and we would explain it was the old Yugoslavia. And then they would say, "Is it safe?" and we would say, "Of course it is." And everyone came and had a magnificent time. Going to Europe, and again being brand new boaters, this was my first boat, we really did not have any concerns that we would be away from any kind of service that an American boat might need. No Plans has performed beautifully.
We were very happy that the boat was capable of crossing any ocean. Even though we did not cross the Atlantic Ocean, we did cross the Caribbean Sea, and we did make some big crossings, not to mention the Mediterranean Sea, the Adriatic Sea, and so on. Knowing that the boat can cross those oceans gives you a lot of comfort factor that we can handle just about anything that we came across.
When we bought No Plans, we had a great manual provided to us by Nordhavn, which we still continue to refer to really on a weekly basis now. But the process that we followed is that our salesman would take us each day through a couple different systems. We'd spend a couple of hours. We would take diligent notes on it. And our philosophy was that both of us had to really learn as much as possible about every system on the boat. And Larry was stronger in the navigation area than I was, but in terms of learning the water maker, the electrical, going from batteries to shore power to changing oil, We both really worked on that, and as a team, that's how we've maintained this boat. It's easy enough that the two of us can do it, and we keep great records about keeping the boat on a good schedule for the oil changes. It's not particularly challenging, and the boat is easy to maintain, but there was a lot to learn, and reading the manuals and keeping up with it has been part of what's kept us, we feel, pretty sharp in our retirement. We don't sit and watch TV in the middle of the day. As Larry says, we're reading the manuals, but we really feel like we've accomplished a lot in learning how the boat operates. So after 4 years in Europe, we decided to bring No Plans back to the U.S. And this time last year we were in Newport, Rhode Island, and we decided to come down the intercoastal waterway between September and December. We made that 1,000-mile run. It was a great experience, very unusual cruising grounds, some of the finest in the U.S. We spent a couple months in Florida, and then in February we left Fort Lauderdale, went north of Cuba, first stop being Cancun, and then we headed down the Western Caribbean, again through the Panama Canal. Different experience going toward the Pacific because it's a nighttime crossing, and you anchor overnight in Gatun Lake and finish the run through the canal the second day. And we thought we might winter the boat at Papagayo, Costa Rica, fabulous marina there. But after a couple months we decided to keep moving north, and just this last June we left from Costa Rica and made our way up here to San Diego. We have 21,000 miles on the boat. We're glad to have our 20,000-mile pennant. Larry has proudly displayed here. 21,000 is more than we ever thought we'd do. We've been here in San Diego for about 2 months. No major repairs to do, just a little work on our generator, and we got that taken care of. And our plan is that in about the next 2 weeks we're going to head north. We're going toward Victoria, and we're going to winter the boat in Sydney on Vancouver Island. And that puts us in position so that next spring, when the cruising season begins, we'll cruise British Columbia. Not sure if we're going to do Alaska next year or maybe the following summer, but we have another 1,200 miles ahead of us. Over the last 5 years, we've averaged about 10 months on board No Plans. It's very easy to live on board. We have a washer and dryer, a full-size washer dryer. We have a sub-zero refrigerator, freezer, and a spare freezer. Dishwasher, lots of counter space, full-size oven, and I don't think there's many apartments that are as well equipped as what No Plans is. Whether it's our guests or us, living on board has been so comfortable. We've had a lot of people say they have trouble sleeping at night, and they sleep in our bedroom, and they're rocked to sleep and have a great cruising time with us. Well, Larry and I, as you've probably surmised, are avid travelers, and traveling with No Plans has really been a dream for us. It's been a great experience, and that it's almost effortless. We know that when you want to be in Europe and you can live in Europe for as long as we did, it's a unique experience. You're not checking in and out of hotels on a daily basis. We would know after being in a community for a period of time when they started giving us the local price for bread that we were accepted and people would recognize us. And you get to a real local feel and a much more in-depth experience when you're able to stay in a community. And when you live on a boat, it's a different lifestyle, and a lot of people admire it and dream of it themselves. We're so fortunate that Larry started reading a magazine where he learned about these long-range passage makers, and our dream, we can hardly imagine that we've taken this boat 21,000 miles and have been in some of the most beautiful places in the world.
In over 20 countries.
Yes, over 20 countries. Yeah, it's been great.